First on Fox, lightning in the skies over Southwest Florida tonight. Check it out. Fox 4 viewer Jordan Larson capturing this eye-popping video of tonight's storms that made for a messy ending to this Labor Day holiday.
The storms left behind quite a bit of damage for a number of neighbors. You can see these downed branches on cars. The National Weather Service, we called them, they told us some of the wind gusts were as strong as 40 miles an hour. And a number of our viewers reached out to us asking if they were in fact experiencing tornadoes.
Let's get right to Storm Shield 4 meteorologist Trevor Adams to get you that answer. Trev?
Well, thank you, Patrick. You know what? There were no tornadoes out there because there was no rotation in the thunderstorms. I had mentioned at 6 o'clock, though, that these storms could bring those wind gusts, which we did see up to 40 miles an hour. Things are now quieting and dissipating out there. Now, what exactly did happen? Likely it's a downburst. What happens is you get dry air that's drawn into the middle of the thunderstorm. It cools quite quickly, and as it does so, it gets very heavy. It rushes towards the ground and flattens things out, likely causing the damage that we had seen in the footage that you saw earlier. So no tornado, but likely a downburst. I'm going to have the latest in the forecast coming up for you in just a bit. Amy, Patrick.
Thank you, Trevor. All that damage from the downburst tonight had a lot of our viewers wondering if it could get as bad as it did back in January when tornadoes did strike in the Southwest Cape.
4 in Your Corner's Michael Cadigan back in that part of Cape Coral tonight with a look.
Patrick, Amy, you can see some of the debris behind me, down branches, and a whole lot more as you see that lightning flash strike behind me. Residents having to endure what the National Weather Service confirmed as 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts in Cape Coral. It rattled windows and shook confidence, reminding Cape Coral residents of the tornadoes that they had to deal with back in January. The sounds of Jason Lynch cleaning up his yard are nothing compared to the sound of how this mess happened.
Just a bunch of crunching and thumping.
Crunching and thumping of trees and other debris all over his property when strong wind gusts came along with heavy rain.
It just started coming down. Wind was going one direction, going the other direction, stuff's flying everywhere, and our car gets wiped out.
Big branches ended up on his car. Even the kiddie pool got torn up. Cape Coral police doing their best to give some warning, tweeting out this picture of the severe weather, advising people to stay indoors. Jason Lynch telling his family to brace for the worst.
I told them to grab her and bring her and the kids in the bathroom, and that was it. Just pretty much hunkered down and waited it out.
Once the winds died down, they came out to see what was ahead of them.
We got definitely some cleanup to do.
Now Jason and the rest of the Lynch family will have to assess the damage tomorrow morning. Reporting in Cape Coral, Michael Cadigan, Fox 4 in your corner.
All right, thank you, Michael. And the storm knocked this family's basketball hoop over in Cape Coral, throwing it into the squad car of the Lee County Sheriff's officer who lives there. The hoop even cracking one of the windows on the patrol car. And as we've been telling you, tonight's storm, of course, bringing back memories of that powerful EF2 tornado that touched down in Cape Coral. That was back in January. 178 buildings were damaged back then.
People in a very similar part of the Cape calling the station tonight, asking if a tornado touched down again. We called the National Weather Service just to be sure. They confirmed it was not a tornado from tonight's storm. And as our own Fox 4 meteorologist Trevor Adams explained, it was just a very strong downburst.
That's right. And the storm grabbing the attention, as Michael showed you, of the officials in Cape Coral. Cape Police tweeting out saying this storm is no joke. That's what they wrote. They wanted residents to get off the road, they said, and to let the storm blow over.
Police not the only ones on social media tonight. A lot of you very active on this holiday, talking to us about the storms as they were rolling through. Sherry Richmond writing, heavy rains caused parts of my lanai to come crashing down. Now I have a sunroof, as she put it. I'll be on the phone with my insurance company in the morning.
And Katie McGinn is talking about all the rain, saying skyline just south of Mohawk and the Cape is flooded. Trash cans are everywhere. She wrote, I had to leave my house during the worst of it. It was insane.
And Cindy Hess also wondering during the thick of it, was this really strong winds or a tornado? As our meteorologist Trevor explained, it was dark, so people might think it wasn't that, though. They say that our house pool cage screens were blown out. There's porch damage, tree branches everywhere. Too dark now for photos and to see everything. If you've got pictures or video of any damage left by tonight's strong thunderstorms, or if you've got some awesome video of that lightning as it was happening earlier tonight, we want to see it and share it with the rest of our viewers. Send it to us at news@fox4now.com. And just remember, 4 in Your Corner is always working to be your complete source of weather coverage as it's happening. You can download our Storm Shield 4 mobile app right now for push alerts and up-to-date information about the weather conditions in your part of Southwest Florida.
You'd love to see of an accident. You can't do that.
A crazy afternoon when a woman crashes her van into a major power line, knocking out power for thousands and completely shutting down US 41 in Fort Myers for hours.
And that woman was arrested with the help of a Good Samaritan. 4 in Your Corner's Mike Mason getting every angle of this fascinating story tonight. He's live in the newsroom with more. Mike?
Yeah, the accident itself was extremely dangerous with live power lines twisting around a busy commercial area. But this also impacted people's lives on what is supposed to be just a mellow holiday. This is a story of what happened when this woman slammed her van into an electrical guide wire on US 41. That wire snapped, killing power to nearly 3,000 homes in Fort Myers.
About 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Disrupting the Labor Day holiday for many, and it all ends with an unusual gesture from a Good Samaritan.
You left the scene of an accident. You can't do that.
It all began around 12:30 in the afternoon. Police say Holly Ann Warner was driving northbound on 41 near Airport Road in Fort Myers when a Jeep clipped her, forcing her off the roadway into the utility pole's guide wire, which snapped. Witnesses say Warner then took off on foot and tried to flee the scene.
You told me, hey, go follow that girl. She's leaving the scene. That's what I did.
And so you helped the cops to catch her?
Yeah, I sure did.
Wes caught up with Warner and gave police the information which he says led to her arrest. Meanwhile, traffic was stopped along 41 and power was out for thousands. Russ realized it when his power tools stopped working.
I'm here remodeling my mom's bathroom.
Yeah, did this stop you? Did this hold you up today?
Oh, yeah.
The Romero family was also using this Labor Day to do some labor of their own. The Romeros were putting in this security system when the power went off. That's when they had to put everything on hold for a few hours. Wes says he's glad he was able to help police find Warner, who has a long rap sheet already. Wes hopes this time she'll get the help she needs.
I don't know if she was scared or what happened. She freaked out about it. But, I hope she learns from this.
The power and traffic were both restored about 3 hours later. As for Warner, she was arrested and is charged with hit and run, giving a false statement, and knowingly driving with a suspended license. In the studio, Mike Mason, Fox 4 in Your Corner.
All right, thank you, Mike. A Fort Myers man arrested in connection with a deadly hit and run earlier this summer is out on bond tonight. 41-year-old Adam Costello is charged with that hit and run. Involving death and tampering with evidence is the other charge. Investigators say back in June, he hit and killed 18-year-old Adam King in this picture here, who was riding his motorcycle on this part of Colonial Boulevard when it happened. Investigators recovered Costello's truck weeks after the crash, but he wasn't arrested until just this past Friday.
It's been 3 weeks, and Lee County deputies are still looking for the driver who hit and killed a man in Bonita Springs. Deputies say 71-year-old Lynn Earl Brown, a regular at Sneaky Pete's, was riding his 3-wheel bike on Nottingham Lane on August 11th when a driver hit him and then took off. Now, sadly, Brown died from his injuries at the scene. If you know anything about this case that can help detectives, call Crime Stoppers. It's 1-800-780-TIPS. A Southwest Florida nurse busted, suspected of stealing drugs from the hospital where he worked. 28-year-old Alex Rodriguez, working in the emergency room at Lee Memorial. He's been fired. He's facing over 130 felony charges, including obtaining drugs, forgery, fraud, and harm against a person. Lee Memorial says it took immediate action as soon as Rodriguez's behavior became suspicious, but some want more specifics from the health system.
Who is in charge of this person? Who hired him? Who trained him? Who's the person who's supposed to oversee, what he does and that kind of stuff.
Now, Lee Memorial says it is cooperating with the sheriff's office, which is conducting the investigation. And you can read the health system's full statement to us when you click on this story on our website. It's fox4now.com.
Some parents in this community fearing for their kids' safety tonight inside this North Fort Myers neighborhood. This is as a case involving a child who was allegedly taken by this young homeless man is now revealing something else that has a lot of people upset. 21-year-old Brandon Robbins remains behind bars tonight, charged with lewd and lascivious behavior and interfering with child custody. Deputies say he forced that girl into the woods near her home in Island Vista Estates, and now we're learning this area is also home to several sex offenders. 4 in Your Corner's Deborah Souverain has more.
Within a few steps of entering this wooded area, it's clear that several people call this place home.
Hey, is anyone here?
We didn't run into anyone who lives here, but those who live on the other side of these woods in the Island Vista Estates have.
They're just people that's down on their luck.
Pat and Gary have lived next to these woods for decades and say they've never heard of any issues until recently, when a 10-year-old girl was forced into these woods by this guy, 21-year-old Brandon Robbins.
I said, check in the woods because there's people living in the woods back here. And I said, that's probably where she's at.
Investigators say Robbins was homeless and had been living in these woods since getting out of jail 2 weeks ago. He told detectives the young girl was his fiancée.
I didn't know that she was back here with that idiot.
We didn't know
that told him that he had a relationship with this child for 2 years.
Robbins isn't a registered sex offender, but I found 6 people who are living within 1 mile of these homes, 3 of whom no longer have to be supervised.
We didn't know that he was a child molester either.
Parents living next to these woods like Victoria, who didn't want her face shown, want to know why they weren't told by property management about what happened to their 10-year-old neighbor. Instead, they had to learn it from our news report.
What's going through your mind right now as a parent?
just being very afraid because I live close to the woods and I never want that to happen to my son, ever.
Deborah Souverain, Fox 4 in your corner.
Deborah also called the corporate management office for Island Vista Estates to ask whether a notice would be sent out to all residents. There was no answer on this holiday, though. As far as Brandon Robbins, he is facing 2 charges, including molestation of a child now.
A Coast Guard helicopter crew rushing into a risky situation on the seas. The dangerous conditions that had them reaching out to stranded fishermen.
A deer in a tight squeeze in the woods of Collier County. How this deer was rescued from the death grip of this python.
A truly heartwarming story as a mother hears her son's donated heart in another person's body. You're watching Fox 4 News at 10.